All right, so today we're going to dive into something that's really at the heart of how businesses operate, especially those using SAP. We're talking about the outbound delivery process in SAP SD. How does a product actually get from a company's warehouse out to a customer's hands?
Yeah, think of an outbound delivery in SAP as like a digital blueprint of a physical shipment.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Just like a package you'd get delivered to your door has, a label with all the details on it and the items inside. An outbound delivery in SAP follows a similar structure.
Makes sense. And for this deep dive, we're tapping into the knowledge of SAP consultant Mikkel Quesnot to break down this digital shipment. We'll be focusing on two main components, like the key parts that make up this process.
Exactly. Let's start with what we can think of as the label on this digital package.
Try the label.
In SAP, it's called the document header, and it holds all the general shipping information that's relevant to the entire delivery.
Makes sense. So what kind of info are we talking about here?
Well, from what Mikkel explains, it includes things like the outbound delivery number, which is a unique identifier for each delivery, the customer who's receiving the goods, and their delivery address.
Right. Those are pretty essential.
Oh, absolutely. But it goes even further. You'll also find the planned shipment date, which is super important for transportation planning and letting the warehouse know when they need to get things ready. Plus, it includes details about the transportation itself, like, is it going by truck, by air? Are there any special instructions? Basically, all the logistical data that's needed to get the shipment where it needs to go.
So it's like a comprehensive overview of that specific shipment.
Exactly. And all this information in the header applies to every single product in that delivery.
Okay. So we've got the label, which is the header. Now, what about the stuff inside the box?
Right. So that's where we get to the document items, sometimes called posts in SAP. These represent each individual product that's being shipped.
So each item gets its own little entry.
You got it. For each item, SAP meticulously records the article number that's like a product code, the description of the item, the quantity being shipped, and the unit of measure. Like, are we talking about individual pieces, boxes, pallets, that sort of thing? And crucially for the warehouse team, it specifies the storage location, exactly where in the warehouse those items need to be picked from.
So a lot more detail than just what's being sent.
Oh, way more. And it can get even more granular depending on how the system's set up.
Really? Like what?
Well, sometimes you'll see the consumer sales price included there, along with references to the specific sales organization and distribution channel within the company that the goods are tied to. You might also see a picking date recorded and the weight and volume of each item. Oh, and here's a really important bit. There can be tolerances set for over deliveries or under deliveries.
Tolerances.
Yeah, so that's like a buffer for slight discrepancies between what was ordered and what actually gets shipped, which, can be a big deal when it comes to finances and keeping inventory records accurate.
So just to recap, we have one header that gives the big picture for the whole shipment, and then a whole list of items, each with its own detailed information.
Exactly. And it's super important to understand the structure, not just from a technical perspective. Like if you're involved in logistics tracking, you can use this information to follow each product from the moment it's picked in the warehouse to when it reaches the customer's door.
And for anyone dealing with inventory management, that outbound delivery is what triggers the actual removal of those goods from the stock records. And it can even impact what's available to promise to future customers.
Right. And of course, we can't forget the financial side.
Yeah, got to keep the money flowing.
The outbound delivery often forms the basis for creating the invoice that's sent to the customer. It's a crucial link in that whole chain of events from the initial order to getting paid, that order to cash cycle in SAP SD.
Now, if any of our listeners want to actually see what this looks like in SAP, Mikkel mentions transaction code VL03N. That's like a specific code you use in SAP to access different functions. You can enter an outbound delivery number there and see the header and all those individual item details for yourself.
So just to wrap up, we've looked at the two fundamental parts of an SAP SD outbound delivery: the document header, with all that general shipping info for the entire digital shipment, and the document items, which give the specifics on every product being shipped.
It's like the foundation for how a huge chunk of the logistics operations work within SAP SD.
And thinking about all the detail that's packed into this digital delivery package, I wonder what other business processes rely on the same information. It really shows how interconnected everything is in a system like SAP.
Lots to think about there. Join us again next time for another deep dive.